Welcome to Frankly Speaking the News. I'm so grateful that you're here today and that you're going to view our channel. My name is Frank Mazdu. I'm your host, again, for Frankly Speaking the News. If you like our content, please hit the like button, share with your neighbors and friends, share on Facebook, share on YouTube, and subscribe to our channel for other episodes. We've got an exciting news story that's rather horrific in its scope, and it does sadden us, but needs to be told. And it just broke a couple days ago, and it broke on Yahoo News and Fox News, so we're going to bring it to you. Today we learned that there was an article that came out that was printed by Yahoo News that was actually written by Fox News by a guy named Sam Dorman. What this deals with is it's the Department of Health and Human Services, which funneled at least $2.7 million to the University of Pittsburg for a project that utilizes tissue banks with organs from aborted fetuses, according to a release from Judicial Watch. Now, Judicial Watch, which is a ACLU type of organization, a not-for-profit that is a conservative organization, filed a Freedom of Information Act, or better known as a FOIA, and it was finally released. And this is amazing. You've got 235 pages of documents that prove that fetal tissue harvesting is a huge industry, and it proved what they were doing with these organs, and that they were using Planned Parenthood as a funnel, as a conduit, as a channel to procure these organs. It's horrific. So let's get into it and let's see. Genitourinary Development Molecular Anatomy Project, or GUDMAP. From now on, I'll just refer to it as GUDMAP. It's been a whole lot easier to discuss. They were harvesting organs from gestation periods, fetuses from 6 weeks to 42 weeks. Wow. Understand that at 40 weeks, you have a fully formed baby. That's a fully formed baby. So 2 weeks after a fully formed baby. So that means that they were doing partial birth abortions to get at these organs to sell them for a profit and to channel them into these organizations, into these hospitals for research, which were financed and through grants from our federal government to the tune of $2.7 million. Let's talk about what they were getting. For the last 10 years, they were collecting fetal tissue. They were collecting liver, heart, gonads, legs, brains, kidneys, bladders. Unbelievable. In testimony from Planned Parenthood, the tissue procurers sheds light on babies being born alive. Now, these are on depositions, sworn under oath. These contradict the testimonies that they gave in public. These babies that were born alive, they were born alive with beating hearts. It's a horrific thing to think about. It's violent, it's horrific, it's infanticide, it's murder, it's just horrific. So let's continue to look through this article and see who they were targeting and what projects. In a Pure Fix interview last year, former university employee Lori Kelly discussed a federally funded project with researchers seeking to collect bladders and kidneys from babies as late as 24 weeks into the pregnancy. Kelly said that as the project manager, she worked to develop a pull-down menu of body parts for researchers to choose from to submit to the tissue bank so that we could send the body parts to them. Black pro-life leaders, Planned Parenthood's Sanger disavowal is like changing the name on Auschwitz. Now, who is Sanger? What is Planned Parenthood disavowing? Well, let's take a quick look at who Margaret Sanger is. Margaret Sanger is the founder of Planned Parenthood. She was a eugenist. She believed that you had to eliminate the inferior in the races and ethnicities, and she targeted minority groups, and she wanted to build a superior race. She basically took after the German Nazis, and that was her belief system. Let's listen in. And by the way, she's also celebrated as a true feminist, an icon. She's even in the Smithsonian. She's got a section to herself. This is a horrific woman who's being celebrated and who's a pure racist. Let's listen in on a little bit about Margaret Sanger.
Sanger, who was the founder of Planned Parenthood, she was a scientific racist. She actually believed that it was necessary to eliminate the lower end of the gene pool, Slavs, Eastern Europeans, and blacks. What she wanted to do was she wanted to eliminate that part of the gene pool so that she could create, in her words, a race of thoroughbreds. The name of that was eugenics. Planned Parenthood has been a part of this radical agenda for a very, very long time.
So it truly can't be that you would have doctors, nurses, medical care physicians working and doing these horrific acts at these abortion mills. Well, here we're going to look at depositions in their own words, where if they lie under oath, it's perjury. So what they say in public and what they say in private are completely two different things. Let's listen in a little bit so that we can get a good idea of what was going on at these Planned Parenthood clinics and how their corporate structure was set up as basically a fetal organ tissue harvesting organization, a huge source of income for this group.
The infant would be resuscitated.
But before we begin, I want to point out that you're listening to Governor Ralph Northam of Virginia. This is Mr. Blackface himself. This is the guy that had a controversy over a year ago where photos show up with him dressed in blackface. He never resigned. He's basically a racist who, because he's a Democrat, was allowed to stay in power. And he had that Democrat immunity card, which he carried with him. Anyway, he is also a doctor. So he's going to describe for you the procedures in a third trimester or a abortion, partial birth abortion, what happens to the child if the child evacuates from the uterus, which is a totally viable child alive, how they deal with it. What is their protocol? Do they take care of it? Do they nurse it and take care of it, heal its wounds if it has any, and take care of it? Well, let's hear what they do, what the protocol is, who makes the decisions, and what the protocol is at these facilities.
Happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother.
Is the entire fetus intact in the lab when the procurement technician enters the lab?
Yes.
Okay, this is some medical jargon, and when they say the entire fetus intact, what does that mean? Well, that means that the baby has not been destroyed through the procedure of abortion. So it's alive, it's intact. So bear that in mind as you listen to her deposition.
How does a tissue procurement occur in one of these situations when the entire fetus is intact in the lab?
We do dissection.
Do you mean that they did not have a heartbeat?
It would depend.
How long did PPSW have a relationship with ABR, or does it continue to today?
It continues.
Blatant lies coming from the White House itself about executing babies after they're born.
Advanced Bioscience Resources is the oldest known organization that harvests and sells aborted baby body parts. They've been doing this since 1989, the same year that I was born. That means that the first kids they parted out and sold would be my age today if they had not been killed by the lethal intersection of abortion, organ trafficking, and fetal experimentation. The first undercover video I ever filmed for CMP's investigation was with ABR's procurement manager.
Okay, I apologize for stopping the video so often, but I don't want you to miss some important, relevant things that are on the screen. What you need to focus on here is that you're looking at right there a statement of facility fees, parts, baby parts, how much for a heart, how much for a liver. So please watch this. I'm going to bring it back just a little bit so that we can see how much they make. Here we go.
They've been doing this since 1989, the same year that I was born. That means that the first kids they parted out and sold would be my age today if they had not been killed by the lethal intersection of abortion, organ trafficking, and fetal experimentation. The first undercover video I ever filmed for CMP's investigation was with ABR's procurement manager, Karen Larton. Here's what she said under oath about that video.
Ms. Larton, do you recognize the individual depicted on the video?
Yes,
And who was that?
that's me.
And does this appear to be the same conversation we were just discussing previously?
Yes.
Okay. We will play a little bit of the video and ask questions afterwards, as we've been doing before.
You know, of even close to like whole organ transplant for the mice, you know, because you can actually reconstitute the immune system that much better and that much more authentically if you're not just doing like mashed up little, you know, cell bits, you know.
And the problem with that is they don't come out intact.
Oh, they don't?
Not open. They're not closed abdomen. They're it's always pulled apart.
Really?
Yeah. That's the whole point is not to have a live birth. And so the doctors have all, unless it's somebody who has had 6 pregnancies and 6 vaginal deliveries.
And then just kind of pops out.
They put lambs in and she comes in the next morning. And I literally have had women come in and go to the OR and they're back out in 3 minutes. So I'm going, what's going on? Oh yeah, the fetus was already in the vaginal canal whenever we put her on syrup, it just fell out.
Wow.
So, you know, because they've had a lot of births, and that's kind of what happens.
Right.
And then, Ms. Larton, do the fetuses occasionally have a closed abdomen?
Yes.
Okay. And then in those circumstances, how frequently do they have a closed abdomen?
Oh, I don't know, once a month, maybe.
And then in those circumstances, is it a situation where the fetus just fell out, as had been discussed at the end of the clip, or is it some other reason?
No, they just, sometimes they fall out. As I said in the video, it's depending on the woman. Women are all different. Some women labor for 24 hours to have their baby, and some people labor for 24 minutes, so.
Sure.
After listening to her testimony and seeing that second trimester fetus viable and moving in the sac as it's being prodded, I'm left stunned. But I will finish this video, and I have a couple questions. What kind of society allows this to happen to its young? What kind of society chooses not to prosecute people for breaking the law and committing infanticide and murder? These are controversial topics and subjects, but they need to be answered. Who supports Planned Parenthood with their treasure? Who does Planned Parenthood support with their treasure? My body, my choice? Really? Is that what you're going to say? My body, my choice? There's 2 bodies. What about the baby's choice? You target minority communities. You place these abortion mills in minority communities. You go after vulnerable women who are ignorant, who don't know what's going on, to profit off of them. You don't want them to get briefed on what their options are. You don't want them to hear the other side of the story on how they could save their child. This is of no value to you. Who are these people? What do they represent? Do they represent your values? Do they believe in the sanctity of life? What kind of person can witness these horrors and have such a hardened heart that it doesn't impact them? These people are all being manipulated and they're doing something that's evil, and they need our prayers. I pray that God softens their heart, takes their heart of stone that's full of calluses and softens their heart. This has to stop. If we're to be a civilized community, this has to stop. The very people that are involved in this scream about racial equality, injustice, social justice. I don't see Black Lives Matter protesting these abortion mills in their community. Where's Antifa? They're butchering your children. They're committing genocide on your race. And we're all standing by allowing it to happen. The court systems do nothing. The judges do nothing. Why? Who supports this? Where does the money come from? Who protects them? Who holds up Margaret Sanger as an icon, an idol, something to be worshipped at the Smithsonian, of all places? These are questions that I'm going to ask you. Leave your answers in the comment sections below. I pray that this stops in this country, and I pray that hearts be changed. I thank you for watching this, as brutal as it may have been, our first episode. I ask that you tune in as we do follow-up series on controversial topics and what's happening to our country. God bless you. Hit the subscribe button, the like button, share on Facebook, share on YouTube, share where you can, go to our channel. And thank you for taking the time to spend with us this evening. Have a blessed day.